What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are here to talk about the ending to Raw and the Seth Rollins, the direction for Seth Rollins' character, because I'm not convinced WWE are able to pull this off. And I understand this is incredibly reactionary. We have had 2 shows he has been on since the heel turn and since Paul Heyman joining, and then obviously one full show since Braun Breaker joined the fray. However, everything that I saw on, as I record, last night's Raw doesn't fill me with the confidence that WWE are going to be able to do this and pull this off and make this work. And I'm going to talk about what's not working for me, and I'm going to talk about why it's not working for me, and I'm going to talk about why I think that is and what has led to these conditions. But we'll just talk about the first thing that didn't work for me, and it's this photo. Rollins has just came out and he's just turned heel at WrestleMania. You know, he's turned his back on the fans. He's once again gone to heel Rollins. He's sided with Paul Heyman. He's got himself a big brute of an enforcer with him. He comes out last week. Sami Zayn comes out and he says, "As your friend, this isn't who you are. I think this is crap. This is only going to lead to one things. This isn't who you are. You're better than this." And Rollins says, "If you don't step out of the way, we're going to step through you. I can move you to SmackDown if you want as my friend, but if you're not with us, you are against us because we are going to take Raw over with or without you." And he's doing all that still in the big Seth Rollins, the big Seth Rollins outfits, and leading the crowd as the choir, and he's got the big funky silly outfits on. He's got these dorky glasses on. And I'm not saying that Rollins has to get rid of every aspect of this just because he's turned heel. I don't believe that. I think the Rollins with the big over-the-top outfits is great, and I think it leans well into this, I'm the number one guy here, I'm going to make all the money, I'm going to win all the championships, I'm going to be on top of Raw, and I'm going to wear the best clothes because I'm making all this money by killing your heroes. But you can still do that with the big, flashy, expensive, in-your-face, arrogant arsehole dress with a black suit. It doesn't need to be all fun and silly and, hey, look at me with my big white flares, because it just doesn't mesh with what he's then telling. It doesn't mesh with the promos that he's cutting. And I understand that's such a minor detail, but you've got Braun Breaker in a full black suit. You've got Paul Heyman in the suit as well, and it's just a presentation thing. The big, over-the-top, flashy outfits, that came about as Rollins being like an arrogant heel and everyone wanted to kind of being so in your face. And then it became a big babyface thing and it was still getting this big reaction. But with what this character is, this doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look at this again. And we're meant to believe this is the top heel on the brand. Now, that coat that Rollins was wearing on Raw cost $13,500. It is from a Pakistani brand called Rasta. That is still great. That is still cool. That is still fine. I'm into that. I'm into Rollins wearing the big, flashy, elaborate stuff, but as the top heel on the brand saying, this is our time to take over. If you're still, dressing like Elton John and you're still doing the dance and everyone's still singing and doing the thing, it doesn't really work. And this then leads me into my second point of why this character isn't really working for me, and that is the end of the show. He gives Sami an ultimatum at the start of the show. He says, "Sami, as my friend, I'm going to give you this chance. You join us, or we can move you to SmackDown. But if you do not join us and you elect to stay here on Raw, it's game over." And Sami says, "No, he's not going to do that. I'm Sami Zayn. I'm the biggest underdog there is." Basically, cuts a big Sami Zayn promo. Great, rousing, gets the crowd on their feet. And then obviously, out comes Braun Breaker, out comes Paul Heyman. Sami then gets killed. And the show ended with probably the most organic babyface in WWE right now. The one that is loved by everyone, every section of the WWE fan, I guess, except for Zionists, are all united behind Sami Zayn. And the show ended with our babyface hero in a heap on the floor, the big evil heel who's, taking everyone down by force, and the crowd singing back his song. And I believe that's because for the last 2 years, Triple H just keep telling us it's not real, it's a TV show, stop being a critic, you're not on the writing team, so you don't have a right to criticise what we're doing, you should actually just shut up and sit down and enjoy the product even when it's bad because it's not real, so why the fuck should you care? It's essentially been his philosophy towards his fans and towards anyone who critiques him on the internet. And in doing so, you rob the show of real and genuine emotions from the fans, because now all fans think they know everything, and I understand I'm one of the biggest smarks, I think I know everything, but all crowds now are like, oh, it's not real, it's all fun, we're all having fun, all crowds now are doing the you know, doing the one fall and the 1, 2, sweet, all that stuff. Like, all the crowds are doing that now, and all the crowds, you know, are in on it, and all the crowds are now acting like they're in on it, and all the crowds are treating these shows essentially, they're not buying in anymore. And I understand the nature of the business has evolved. It's no longer just heels and faces and things like that. But with Sami Zayn being Sami Zayn, and the show ending the way it did, you would have expected at least half the crowd to be sitting booing him. And we probably would have got that a few years ago. But Triple H loves peeling that curtain back more and more and more, and he also loves telling us to our faces that nothing really matters. So if nothing matters, why should we invest? And if we're not invested, we're cheering for just whoever we like in that city, and that's fair enough. If you bought your ticket, you cheer for who you want to cheer. But an ending to a show like that, where the biggest babyface in the company is destroyed by the new biggest heel, whilst the new biggest heel has essentially changed nothing about his presentation from when he was a babyface. And I understand the argument that he changed nothing about his presentation really from the beginning of this character into when it turned face and it transitioned into a face. But it's a different character now. You know, he's sided with Paul Heyman. He's decided he's not going to be taking the back seat anymore. Whereas before he was just being a little antagonist and poking and prodding people. Now he's assembled essentially his own faction to keep his back and to watch his back and to help him rise through. But his character has not changed. And it doesn't feel like a natural progression of what this character should be. And again, the ending of Raw with all of the fans cheering for the big bad dastardly heel who told us at the start of the show that he's going to take over by force and he will kill anyone that gets in his way, even his friends, were then just like, woo, because he's got the fun song to sing. I've realised what it is, man. WWE just jingle keys. WWE fans are little tiny babies and they are just jingling keys with the like, that's all it is. It's forever just jingling keys in front of our eyes so we don't actually critically think about what is going on their TV show. Because the Rollins character should be fundamentally different. We should know, if we tune into Raw, if we missed WrestleMania and we saw nothing about WrestleMania, we should know by tuning into Raw now that this is a different version of Seth Rollins. And I understand we would know that with Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman with him. But for the start of this promo with Sami, when he was in the ring by himself, no Heyman, no Braun Breaker, we should be able to know instinctively when we turn that on, there's something different about Seth Rollins. But we turned that back on, he's got his fancy coat, his big white suit pants, he's got his nice shoes on, and he's got his, whatever. We should absolutely know that there is something different about that character when we turn on the TV. Whether that be in the way he dresses, whether that be in the way that he carries himself, whether that be in the way that he interacts with the fans, with the other wrestlers, the way that he does his entrance, the way that he cuts his promos, the way that he does anything. But nothing about his character has changed, and because of that, he is not getting the reaction from the crowd that the story is giving us. And I understand I'm a hypocrite coming on here because, at the peak of the big dog Roman, I was always on here saying, we need a change, we need a change. We as fans are tired of just accepting what we're being told on screen. But that was over a prolonged period of time. That was something that the fans were never on board with, and the fans that gave many, many chances to be good, whereas this is just starting. The fans doesn't even feel like are, in the arena at least, it doesn't even feel like the fans are interacting with this story in any meaningful way. And I think that's because Triple H has just repeatedly told us that any interactions that we have outside of just consuming the slop isn't a meaningful interaction because there's nothing we can do. And it just turns WWE into a slop farm. More so than it already has been and historically has been and probably will be again in the future. I want this to be good, and I'm very on board with the Braun Breaker pairing, and I'm very on board with the Paul Heyman pairing. But you need to do something different about his character to make us understand what is going on. Because if he's just the same character as he always has been for the last couple of years, it doesn't matter. And I want the turn to matter. And funnily enough, I want the main event of WrestleMania to matter. So, that is me. This is a bit of a short video. I don't think there was, maybe it could be said, there's not enough meat on the bones of this for one video after 2 shows. And maybe this is something that in the few weeks coming, maybe the WWE will realise, we should probably edit how we do this or whatever. But for now, I just have worries, and WWE's track record of pivoting and updating things and changing things to make them work. It's not good historically. But let me know what you think of everything that's going on with the Rollins character down below. I want to hear all your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Show us around to all your mates and tell them about the handsome man on YouTube with the good wrestling opinions. Once again, guys, my name is Jake. And once again, guys, my name is Jake. This is Where I Talk Wrestling. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.